See,
Fair
got
enough.
it. See, I waited at least until before I hit the big red button.
Ooh, you might be a little glary with all that light, though.
Yeah.
Then it almost looks like you are like you're outside.
Me?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
I
should put a little cloud in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. How are you? How are things?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I had some ghetto Salisbury steak and pasta.
Like
so
that?
I'm
Like
pretty
that?
happy.
We did chicken patty sandwiches and smiley face potatoes. So that was a good time. It was a good time.
Excellent.
We had boxed mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Since we're all sharing our dinners tonight, but we spent the entire day painting the dining room. So
nice.
Excellent.
I see all three of us channeling our inner 12-year-old. Fantastic. That's fabulous.
Well, the funny thing is, ghetto Salisbury steak is basically hamburgers with no buns and gravy. So
yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, let's dive in here, because I think that there is obviously the hot topic of the week was yesterday's killer announcement that Wizards of the Coast / Dungeons and Dragons / Hasbro has pulled the trigger and is acquiring D&D Beyond. And the number of questions that I have without answers to this are innumerable.
Totally saw it coming.
Yeah. Oh, I think we all saw it coming. Yeah. Well, we knew that something was coming. We didn't know if they were going to be making their own, or if they were going to make a push for either them or for Roll20, but we knew that something was happening, right? Yeah. This was not totally by surprise.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the most successful VTT goes that way as well, because D&D Beyond does not offer a VTT, right?
Right.
So is it cheaper to reinvent the wheel or to obtain Roll20? I'm just saying that could happen in the future too.
I might have some info to help us with the prognostication on this one.
Ooh, okay. Prognostication, big word.
I like it.
So part of the job of any good podcaster is to go out there into the interwebs and peruse sources who are typically very in the in. Not that they necessarily have inside info, but that they tend to be very right when they make their guesses. One of those happens to be Ted at Nerd Immersion. I follow him fairly closely. And his initial post on the topic was very good. It pretty much said all the same things that we were talking about before we got a chance to sit down to this. But his idea was that it is quite possible that there are some things, like he's got some connections who seem to think that there were things that could be found in the dark recesses of D&D Beyond that look like they might be getting ready to test some VTT stuff. And so they may already be in development. So he didn't go so far as to say lock it down, but that could be the case. And I had
heard D&D Beyond was working on a VTT option. I had heard that as well.
Exactly. So there's some rumor there. Let's also take the fact that in the last year and a half, how much better and smoother the encounter builder has been. So the encounter builder has been better. They added gear stuff, so you can store gear in containers on horses and vehicles, things like that. There's a lot of things that they've been adding that are very useful to players today and have been useful to players in the past year or so, but they would also be essential if you then bring on a VTT. So I don't know if they're gonna acquire somebody else. This might be all they need, because they've got the thing that everybody else links to. So by having this, all those other ones are paying them anyway.
Totally. Yeah.
They pay D&D Beyond,
right?
And D&D Beyond was paying Wizards. Now D&D Beyond is Wizards.
Yeah.
So Wizards just got a bigger cut of every pie.
And then from that perspective, do they want to own their own VTT, or do they instead want to be the the street corner dealer to all the VTTs that are out there peddling in the neighborhoods?
Yep.
That wasn't the best reference.
I get
you've made worse. I know that's
I mean, my guess is there's a lot of corporate thought. They are probably wrestling with these very ideas. Who knows if they've even landed on an answer, because any answer that they land on still requires a deal to be made and that to work out. But the goal, apparently, with this announcement, what they've written in multiple posts, the actual press release and the release that was on the page, uh, seem to indicate that they're being very clear. They don't want to cost anybody losing something they've already paid for. Now, that specifically referenced D&D Beyond, but whatever decisions they make relating to 5e proper will affect Foundry, Roll20, and all the others that are currently official. So whenever those contracts run out, maybe they just don't renew them. We already know that D&D, the next evolution, whatever that is called, 5.5 or 6e, whatever that is
I think we're going to see a midpoint or an expansion first. Yeah.
Well, right. Whatever they call it, it's happening in 2024 for the 50th anniversary. So that's probably when we're going to know the final answer to the very question you asked, Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, the question about the VTT is an interesting one. I mean, the fact that there's code on the back end that supports an expansion into a VTT certainly makes sense, given the announcement that they made about UA stuff about a year ago, when they're like, oh no, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be pulling back from that to go ahead and focus on other development resources. To which everyone scratched their head and said, well, wait a minute, what other development are you doing right now that is more important than this, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Our ability to play test quickly and easily
was
taken from us so you could build containers.
Totally.
I mean, I like containers.
Yeah.
Not great. But I think they're cool, but they're not all that, right?
Right.
So,
and it's not like
but similarly, I'm hoping this Wizards money does a couple things that I've been asking for a long time. I want my sidekicks. I want
sidekicks should be
my
in there by
my
now.
patrons.
Hell yes.
Like Wizards, if you're listening to the sound of this voice, this guy right here, sidekicks and patrons. Not only do you need to build them, but you also need to build in the back end so we can homebrew our own on the tool, because that is a great way to bring things to your game, so the players can feel it's their game.
All right, this is totally live right now. I'm going to shut my video off for a second so I can eject my cat back up into the upstairs. So you guys can bits for a minute. I'll be right back.
All right.
No worries.
We are pet friendly, but sometimes we don't want the pets to impact the recording. So
come on now. Everybody's seen the cat's butt before. They show them to everybody. It'll be all right.
Cats are everywhere, but
because I have a cat and it's shown its butt in the middle of a live recording before. So I must defend felines everywhere.
Fair enough. Defend them, not offend them. So
I do that too.
I'm really looking forward to see what the changes bring. From a monetary standpoint, I'm holding my breath-ish that it's going to result in some kind of reduction of cost. Look, I don't expect anything that a company does to be given for free. I don't expect this means all of a sudden I get new source material on D&D Beyond for free. It's a fantastic tool, provides a great deal of resource and usability and ease of use that really can't be denied. Like, I work a 9-to-5 job. I can't be bringing in my tomes to work, but if I get a 15-minute break, I can bring up D&D Beyond on my phone and I can still read the latest book. Right. That's instrumental.
It's a super handy app to have. It works great on the phone too.
Yep. I actually just use it web-based. I don't even use the app anymore. I just use web-based. There's a couple.
Actually, so do I.
There's a couple extra features on the web-based tool. A little harder to look at, but it's a little easier to use. And obviously, just like when I'm sitting at the laptop or at the PC and home. But I think there might be a way to make it a little more cost-effective for the players. Look, paper's going up, everything's going up. I think they can hold the line where if we have to get to a point where we increase the prices of the actual physical books, and I get that will have to happen, perhaps we don't have to go any higher on the books, because if the physical books are coming in at 50 and 60, then perhaps the digital books need to stay at 30, or perhaps even just drop to 20 or 25. That's my hope.
What I'd like to see without it effectively having to serve two masters, because that's what they've done by combining, right? It doesn't have to serve the profits of D&D Beyond and Wizards of the Coast that D&D Beyond has to pay any longer. What I'd like to see is a significant decrease in the cost per book on D&D Beyond. And I say I'd like it to see it that way specifically because adding that value to the players, since they don't have to pay both parties anymore now. I get that they need to cover the cost and the expense of the teams that have to program all of that crap, who have to set it up, who have to make it work. So there needs to be an additional cost there. It's not like just saying, sure, you can have a free copy of the PDF too, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yep.
But I don't think they should just increase the cost of the book and make it come with it, because not everybody uses D&D Beyond. So I think it needs to stay separate. Well, but the D&D Beyond price needs to come down.
Right. Before you jump in there, Lewanika, let me kind of weigh in on that point too, because I have thoughts on that too. Not only does here's a physical book and a way to go ahead and give you the PDF copy comes with it. Not only does that kind of like unfairly ramp up the price for people that don't use D&D Beyond.
Right.
Technologically, that's also very, very hard to do. This isn't a company that's selling 100 copies of their book and need to go ahead and produce some sort of a way to go ahead and do that. This is a company that is selling millions of copies of a book every single time that they put it out. So the management of that is exceptionally difficult. Every single copy of every single book would need to come with a distinct token of some kind that registers
like
that
unique
a
QR
person,
code or something.
Right.
Actually,
exactly right.
I have an answer for that.
Okay.
And it's found in one of Wizards' other properties. Wizards
Okay.
already has their cards that they use for their Magic the Gathering tournaments and their Adventure League tournaments, where people register with Wizards and become a Wizards user, right? So what you need to do is just tie that into, so you get there's got to be some way that, and I'm not sure that all the technicalities, but there's got to be a way where your purchase can be registered. They do it with equipment, like you can register your refrigerator for warranty. So basically, you have it. There's a serial number somewhere or something. You register it. You have a copy of your receipt. You send in a picture of your receipt, and
but
that's a monumental.
Why are you trying to invent a system? And invent a system for an effect we're saying that we don't want.
Well, actually,
because we don't want, at least I don't want them to bundle it all in together into one book when I buy it at the bookstore or online or wherever else. Because if I don't want that book on D&D Beyond, why should I have to pay the extra money for it?
So here's two things. I don't think you should have to, but what I'm saying is I don't want the price to go up because of D&D Beyond. However, I guarantee you, even if they hadn't made this purchase, the price was going up between now and 2024 anyway.
Of course, that's just the way that prices go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
there's
my
only one direction for them.
Right. So my thought is this: if the price has got to go up for them to maintain their margins, now that they're one thing instead of two things, their margins just increased anyway. So perhaps they can hold the line on one or the other of the elements. That way they're still making more money, still increasing, and whatever natural price increases would have happened can still happen, but they can just hold the line. That's why I said maybe the cost of the books just comes down to 25. 20 would be perfect, but let's say it comes down to 25 from 30. I would be okay with that if that allowed them to hold the line. If they held the line on the prices, other than what was going to be happening naturally because of inflation and all those other things.
Yeah.
And the price on the digital came down by $5. I would be satisfied with that.
Yeah. Here's the issue with that though, is that's going to put downward pressure on people looking to buy books at neighborhood gaming stores. And if Wizards wants to continue to support the gaming stores as much as they possibly can, and let's be honest, there's some scuttlebutt about whether or not Wizards actually does all that they can to support that relationship, right? If we're being totally fair here, right? But if all of a sudden, if you jack up the price of the physical books to $60 from $50, which we all suspect is coming, right? And then at the same time, you also lower the price of digital books from 30 down to 20, that is going to put a lot of downward pressure on people going to their friendly neighborhood game store and buying the books there. I mean, like, look, driving to a game store where I can go ahead and buy D&D books is 45 minutes away. It takes a time investment to go there to go ahead and do the thing. And if I was not such a Dyson book goblin where I insist on owning physical copies of books, then there may be times that I would look at that and say, no, you know what? I don't need to go out and get this book. I'm just going to buy it digitally.
And to be fair, there are people who don't have the resources. They don't have the resources or the ability to do both. There are people who have to make value decisions. I can do one, I can't do the other. And they're hoping somebody gets them the other for Christmas or something.
Which is another reason why they need to stay separate products, because there's some people who just run digital libraries. They don't want to have physical copies of the books.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think those should be available also. But like I said, there are changes coming. I don't know which direction they're going to go. I think it'll be an interesting watch. I think this is not the first or the last conversation we're going to have on this between now and 2024. We'll learn more as we go. We'll keep our ear to the ground, and we'll definitely be letting our fans and listeners know.
Yeah. They could put a unique coupon code in each book printed in the cover somewhere that got you a discount on the D&D Beyond products to kind of tip their hat to the fact that you're buying it twice if they want.
Yeah, I mean that still goes to the whole purpose about the unique code though. Like that's
logistically it's a nightmare. I'm just saying they could.
Yeah. And then you've got question like, and maybe Wizards is not super concerned about the secondary market, but if I buy a book, right, and download the digital copy using the discount that I get for the book, and then sell you the physical book, I've now got my digital copy for cheaper because you know what I mean. So it's kind of like, but then I sold my book on eBay and recouped my cost for it, right? And so there's
so you're an entrepreneur, whatever.
And then there's the fact that some people will get the book, get the code, and never.
The code's already been used. Yep.
And the code's already been used. All kinds of stuff. Yeah. Books are going to have to come sealed, which then gets into environment. Yeah, then you get environmental issues because now we got to wrap them.
We're going down rabbit holes we don't need to go down. Let's reel it back
totally.
in, guys.
Bring it back to the table.
You're totally right. Yeah. I think the easiest solution to all these problems is keep them as separate products, and whether or not Wizards wants to go ahead and offer D&D Beyond at a discounted price or what. There is some speculation that part of what they're going to do is so there's the master level D&D Beyond subscription right now. The suspicion is that what they're going to do is they're going to add another level above that comes with the core materials, and then if you are subscribing at that higher level, not only do you get the core, your player's handbook, DM's guide, and monster manual, right, as your kind of core materials, and then you can get the other materials at a discounted cost. So there's some speculation that might be the way that they go, because look, subscription models for businesses are absolutely, look at every piece of technology that we use now. Windows is a subscription service basically, like that's so it's all going that direction. It's all going that direction. So
so bringing it back to the table, let's talk about what this does for the game. I mean, let's jump in, like what we think it's going to do to our actual everyday games, like my Monday night game, the games that we play. I mean, I think I'm in love with this idea because Wizards and Hasbro has resources. It has been reported on everything, to include one of my favorite non-geek podcasts, which is Marketplace. Though there is, a geek there's many geeks among those at Marketplace, including Kimberly Adams. No, Kimberly Scott, Kimberly Adams. I am off on my names. I feel bad. But she is a professed geek, loves geek culture and stuff like that. So they've talked about how Hasbro and D&D are making boatloads of money. It's a big business. It's a great thing. My wife today was just telling me that another actress has been outed as a big geek. She talked about being a DM when she was a kid, showed Joe Manganiello pictures of her doing it, and that's Tiffany Haddish, for any who are big comedy fans. I think that's amazing, and I think this is just something that's going to help that even grow more. The easier it is for people to use and play this game, the better it's going to be.
Totally agree. And I think that I think that introducing Hasbro's sweet investment money into this
He types it that way in the chat too every time.
I did
He types
absolutely
sweet investment money.
I absolutely agree that this is going to be good. And I think that I wonder if there's going to be an increase in content which is only released digitally. I wonder if there is going to be any number of permutations that I think the big question is going to be though is how much support for homebrew content is there going to remain to be on D&D Beyond? Because right now D&D Beyond is basically a template that you can go ahead and throw whatever the hell you want into. Right. Is D&D Wizards going to continue to go ahead and do that? How is this going to affect things like DM's Guild? How is this going to affect things like Fantasy Grounds? Like all those sorts of things. I think that there are some implications on that front. So, do we see a combination of DM's Guild go away and now D&D Beyond's homebrew marketplace becomes a true marketplace? Like, some questions in there. So,
well, there's
because
there's a lot
Guild doesn't mean they have to one has to go out of business for the other one. There could be two places where you could sell.
There's a lot of there's Fairmount, like One Grung Below, and I think there's a few other things that are in D&D Beyond that are not found elsewhere. So perhaps official smaller modules like WotC smaller modules will come out in that format only versus a print copy.
That could be kind of neat instead of always getting a giant campaign book to occasionally get from WotC a smaller module.
You could totally go Charles Dickens style and release a chapter at a time. Yeah. Like imagine if they said, hey, instead of putting out 6 chapters in Call of the Netherdeep, we're going to release 1 chapter a month starting in May. Imagine what that would do to the attention on the game and imagine what it would do to the excitement around material and stuff like this. Yep. So I think that there's a lot of really interesting permutations in all of this. But real quick, hey, Jen in the chat, nice to see you. We'll be talking to you in just a minute. So.
Yes. Ha ha ha.
Hi, Jen.
So anyway, all that to go ahead and say, I totally agree with you, Lewanika and Glenn. I think good move for D&D Beyond. Good move for Wizards of the Coast.
Good move for fans of the hobby.
I'd also have to say though, just real quick, because you mentioned a little while ago being worried about what it would mean for homebrew content being supported on D&D Beyond, and I got distracted briefly by something going on in my background. I think WotC will definitely remain advocates, D&D Beyond wise anyway, for supporting the homebrew content and following that. Because I mean, if you look at it, they're pretty much saying it just by partnering with Critical Role. They're saying, this homebrew thing that they allowed already through doing the open gaming license anyway. So they're already saying it's a good idea. It can't be anything but good for the hobby. But now actively partnering with the largest of things that have sprung up from it, I don't think that that's in question. I think we'll keep seeing from WotC an embrace of homebrew content and fan created content.
Yep. I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, because there's a lot of it out there. I would hate for it all. I would hate for the carpet to be pulled out from underneath all of it.
Yeah. So, and they said they were not going to do that. So we're watching. We're believing you. I'm choosing to be very positive and upbeat about this whole thing. I will just say this in closing. I love this happening, and please give me my sidekicks. Please give me my patrons. And if you can make the homebrew tools a little more gooey, a little more user friendly, that would be awesome. Not all of us are great programmers. If you could throw slide a little ease of use into the homebrew tools. I mean, I toughed my way through it, but it would be awesome if it was a little easier.
That is one thing that none of the design tools that Wizards of the Coast or TSR have ever put out have ever been particularly friendly in their user experience design. I'm
e-tools, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, the original teaser was perfect. It's when they realized that we can't that company because they're not going to do it for us, and they just came out with e-tools. I was like, oh, you hurt me. It took me almost 4 years to figure out the best way where I got very good at it. I still have working e-tools, by the way. I have it on every PC I have.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because I love it. It's a great tool. It's a great tool.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, I think we should call it there. So couple things just to go ahead and wrap up here. So first of all, I hope that everyone out there listening has gone to DM's Guild to check out our latest offering. Speaking of Homebrew and DM's Guild, the Traveler's Guide to the
Multiverse.
I appreciate the gravitas on that one, Glenn. Thank you very much.
Had to help out.
Traveler's Guide to the Multiverse available on DM's Guild right now. There will be a link down in the show notes once this episode actually becomes a full-fledged video instead of just a live stream here. But yeah, go check it out. It's a good time. It's getting great reviews, so that's fabulous. Glad to hear that people are enjoying it and figuring out ways to use it at their table. We want to hear all about that, though. We want to hear how are you using this. So please leave comments, leave questions, catch us on Twitter, catch us on Facebook, catch us anywhere,
parts,
wherever it is. Yeah,
most exciting backgrounds. We've got little pools over whose things get the most,
yeah, exactly.
Really, we just want feedback.
Exactly.
And definitely let us not leave this without doing the official YouTube thing. Please hit that like button, please subscribe, and please hit the bell for notifications so we can let you know when we're going to come on and do our things. And I just wanted to shout out because one of our viewers wanted to mention that it's Josh. My full name, Akash Mbatwa, because I didn't change it to the name I go by on the podcast, Lewanika, and Nigel, who happens to be one of Glen's characters from one of the games he plays. So,
oh my bad. Am I still Nigel?
Yeah, you're still Nigel.
That's okay.
Yeah,
we know you're Glen. It's okay. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and call it there because we are now going to be talking to one of our Patreon subscribers about the new Critical Role book, Call of the Netherdeep. We hope that you are all enjoying Critical Role Month. The awesome interview with Hannah Rose comes out on Saturday, and we have got another great interview in a couple of weeks here. We just sat down and talked with Sadie Lowry. Holy crap.
Lowry, yes.
Wow.
Sadie Lowry.
Wow. So sorry, Sadie. Oh my goodness. Sadie Lowry. We just sat down and talked with her a couple of nights ago. That episode will be coming out in a couple of weeks here. So another great time. And like I said, we're going to be talking Call of the Netherdeep with one of our Patreon subscribers here in just a minute. And who apparently is like a big Critical Role fan, apparently. Like who knows?
That's the word on the street.
That's the rumor. Yeah. So we're going to be doing that.
The proper vernacular is that she is a critter.
She's a critter, right? Exactly. Yeah, and you may recognize her voice from our actual play show. If you listen to that episode, and you're like, that sounds an awful lot like Alarai. That's because it is. So anyway, on that front, everybody, we're gonna shut down the live stream for now so that we can wrap up everything and head over to our recording stream and get that recorded up. So thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate you checking us out. We want to hear in the comments what you think about this D&D Beyond D&D merger, because we think it's a great idea. But what do you think? What are we missing here? So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Talk to you again later.